Hi, Rob here. Welcome to the IELTS Transformation Writing course. This lesson is about the IELTS writing, task 1 in the general training module. So this is a letter, and you need to write 150 words. As always, we're going to look at this from the point of view of the IELTS writing band descriptors, because they give us all the information we need to know. Now, the IELTS writing task 1 general training, the letter, is often not very well done. So you must understand that how we write a letter in English is different to how many other languages write a letter. And the band descriptors tell us what you need to do. They tell us how to write a good letter, basically. So let's have a look. So for a 9, fully satisfies all the requirements of the task. 8 covers all the requirements of the task sufficiently. You should have this document, by the way, already. If you started our course, you should have this so you can read it clearly. For a 7, covers the requirements of the task. So we have our 3 bullet points. If you cover the requirements of the task, it means you do all 3 perfectly well. Okay. For a 6, addresses the requirements of the task. So it means you try to talk about them. For a 5, generally addresses the task. So not completely, but generally. A 4, attempts to address the task, but does not cover all the bullet points. So 3 bullet points, if you do 2 only, you're a 4 automatically. So you need to cover all the 3 bullet points. You need to do what the task says, okay? So that means you need to read the question very carefully. And many people don't read the question very well, so they don't answer the question. So you need to imagine the situation in your own mind. It's not something that's abstract, it's something that's real, so use your imagination. So what I'm saying is we've got 3 bullet points and 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, okay? And about similar in length, so approximately 50 words. Then you know that you've covered the 3 points sufficiently, and of course you must write a minimum of 150 words. If you write less, you're going to lose marks. Let's have a look at this letter here. Here's an example of a task 1 letter. You are working for a company, you need to take some time off work, and you want to ask your manager about this. Explain why you want to take time off work. Give details of the amount of time you need, and suggest how your work could be covered while you're away. So we're explaining, we're giving details, and we are suggesting. So just have a think, how would you respond to this task? How would you answer this question? Maybe pause the video and lesson and maybe make some notes and think about it, okay? So here is a good example of the letter. This is a band 9. So you'll notice we've got 3 bullet points. We've got 3 paragraphs, and 1 paragraph talks about 1 bullet point. And we start our letter with Dear Paul, for example. So if the question says Dear ... we know that you can add a name in there. So Dear Paul, Dear Jeremy, whoever. And then we finish the letter with kind regards. So kind regards is for somebody that you know, okay? If you do not know the person, then it will be Dear Sir or Madam, and the sign-off will be yours faithfully. Okay. So that's 163 words. The reason we want 50, 50, 50 is that many people will write 20, 110, 20. So in other words, they don't write enough about bullet point 1. They write too much about bullet point 2. So it will maybe have some irrelevant detail. And then they write not enough about bullet point 3. So you are not covering the task, probably. Okay. Let's have a look at the next comment. Clearly presents a fully developed response for a 9. 8 presents, highlights, and illustrates the bullet points clearly and appropriately. Okay, let's concentrate on the 7. Presents a clear purpose with the tone consistent and appropriate. So, 2 ideas here. The purpose. When we write a letter in English, we always explain why we are writing. So your first sentence should be, Dear Paul, I am writing to whatever. Tell you, inform you, ask you, complain, whatever the situation is. Dear Jeremy, I am writing to suggest blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you must start your letter like that. And then the tone must be consistent and appropriate. So tone means that if it's a formal letter, that your language is formal. And that if it's informal, your language is more informal, more casual, more friendly. So this can be a problem for many students, especially in a complaint letter. In many languages, when you complain, when you say you are not happy with something, you can be quite direct. And in English, when you translate it, it sounds very rude. So you can have a great letter, everything's perfect. And then in the final paragraph, it says, I want you to send me a new microwave. Too rude, too direct. In English, we are not direct like that. We are always polite, even when we're complaining. So we are less direct than many, many cultures and languages. And that's important here. So, purpose and tone, really, really important. At a 6, presents a purpose that's generally clear. There may be inconsistencies in tone. So an inconsistency is where your tone is very formal, and then, or maybe it's a formal letter and you start your letter, hi, how are you? That's not formal, we don't do that. Look at a 5, may present a purpose for the letter that is unclear at times. Okay, the tone may be variable and sometimes inappropriate. So if you're too rude or direct in a complaint letter, difficult to get more than a 5, really. General training fails to clearly explain the purpose of the letter. So no purpose. So when we're reading it, we're like, why are you writing this to me? So you need to be clear. The tone may be inappropriate. And 3 is a disaster. So here it is in my letter. Look at the purpose of the letter. It's in blue. Dear Paul, I'm writing. Like I said, I'm writing to plus a verb. I'm writing to ask you, I'm writing to inform you, to thank you, to compliment you, I don't know, whatever the situation is. And then, so I would like, so that's the result of the purpose. And look at the tone in here. This is a letter to your manager. So it is somebody that you know, but it is more polite. It's not as familiar as with your friends. It's still polite, still a business situation, a work situation. So look at the polite language here. I'm writing to ask if it's possible for me. I'm not telling him, I'm asking him. I'm not sure whether this fits into the department's holiday planning. Again, I'm being quite soft and indirect. I hope we can find a way to cover me in my absence. So very polite. I would need 2 weeks off from Friday the 1st of August. So using would to be polite. It's the same way that we say I would like. We don't say I want. 3-year-old children say I want. My son says, Daddy, I want a biscuit. I say, what's the magic word? Please. So I want a biscuit, please. Is okay. But if he said, Daddy, I would like a biscuit, okay, it's polite. And then look, again, Lou could. So I'm talking about possibility here. I'm not talking about fact. I'm talking about a possible situation. A situation that I hope will happen. Look, I hope it will not inconvenience the school too much. So you'll notice here that we've got these words, would and could, and I would like. So remember that when you watch the grammar video and lessons, that when we use a modal verb, so can, could, will, would, may, might, should, ought to, must, and have to, when we use these words, that's also considered a complex structure. So it's good for your grammar. And this is how we are polite in English. We talk about possible situations. We don't talk about fact. So there you go. Now, have a look here. Clearly presents and highlights bullet points, but could be more fully extended. So the 3 bullet points are clearly well written, but maybe could do with a little bit more information. Again, that's why 50-50-50. This will make you give that little bit more information. For 6, presents and adequately highlights bullet points, but details may be irrelevant, inappropriate, or inaccurate. So this is common. A lot of students will write irrelevant details. In other words, they are details, they are writing about something which is not connected to the question. So many people will start by saying, Dear Paul, I hope this letter finds you well and that you enjoyed your weekend and blah, 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 blah. Very nice, but doesn't help you answer the question. So don't do it. And again, if we have this 20, 110, 20, then this middle paragraph that you wrote 110 words about is probably full of irrelevant content, irrelevant words, ideas. So don't do it, because you get stuck on a 6. You can see that. It's quite common for students to do that. Let's have a look here. Presents but inadequately covers bullet points. There may be a tendency to focus on details. So, again, this is what happens if you have these paragraphs with 20 words in. You're not adequately covering the bullet point. So that's where you would get stuck on a 5. And then for a 4, may confuse bullet points with detail. So, disaster really. Let me show you now what many people end up doing. When you add irrelevant detail, 2 problems. First of all, you don't answer the question. You don't cover the requirements of the task. And also you waste time. Also, there's more chance, if there's more words, there's more chance of mistakes. So error and time are very important in this writing test. So I've added irrelevant detail, look, And now we've gone to 210 words. So that took you, I don't know, 25% more time. And you can see in here, look, I'm writing and sorry, I've changed the tone to be more direct. Now it's not inappropriate at all. So I'm writing to tell you that I'm taking a couple of weeks off work. My sister is getting married in the UK next August, so I'm taking my family there for a trip. We haven't been for such a long time and I really miss England. So your manager doesn't care that you haven't been to England for a long time. So all the in blue, look, the last time I went back, it took me 3 days to recover and I got the flu too. Again, irrelevant. Does not help you answer the question, so don't do it. And then we usually cover a unit a week, blah, blah, blah. No good. But look at the direct and tone. I'm writing, look at the direct and inappropriate tone. I'm writing to tell you I am taking my family. I want you. I need. I'm waiting. So clearly written by a 3-year-old, a 3-year-old with great language. So I just want to go back a second. So here's the good example. This would be a band 9. What I also want you to know is notice in this letter how clear it is and simple and straightforward, that the grammar is complex. There's plenty of complex sentences and complex structures. So watch the grammar videos to understand that. But look how simple and clear it is. It's not complicated. It's just answers the questions very directly and straightforward. Also notice this question here, bullet point 2 says give details. Now, this is where many students go wrong. They have a bullet point that says give details. For example, you have to think logically about this. If I invite you to my party, say, okay, Mr. Student, please come to my house on Friday for a party. Think about what information do you need to know. You need to know the date, the time, the place, and any other details that might be relevant. So it's Friday night at my house in Paradise Point. Please bring some beer, which is what we do in Australia. You take a drink, and but I will provide dinner. So be careful of give details. You must give the details in a logical way. Think about what information would be logical to give in this situation. So I hope you can see how kind of simple and straightforward that letter is, even though the grammar is full of complex structures. And when we look at also the coherence and cohesion is very good, but watch the videos and lessons about that to get more information. Okay. So where were we? Let's have a look. So remember this: cover all the 3 points sufficiently. Use the correct tone. Give the purpose of the letter, like we talked about. And stay focused on the question. When you write one paragraph, go back and check the question. Is this paragraph answering that bullet point? Is it? You need to ask yourself. And we mention this many times in this course, but that means you need to be calm because you need to ask yourself the right questions. Okay. So, thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please just ask. And of course, have a great